Hiya. So I'm going to show you how you can quickly group 5,000 keywords with ease into predefined subtopics of interest, which are automatically generated, so you don't even have to think about that. So this tool essentially we built to kind of make keyword grouping faster and easier. So you just plug in your parent topic. In this case, it's broadband and TV. We're going to use auto topics discovery mode. So essentially it just scans the keywords to give you recommended topics. Paste the keywords in and then press scan, and it just analyzes the keyword sample to discover relevant topics that it thinks you could group these queries into. So it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. Once it's done, it will suggest specific topics within the grouping box. You can then change these, edit them, delete them, add to them, do whatever you want, change them as you will. But essentially that makes things much more customizable, but also much faster for you. So you're not going to think about groupings that you'd like. I would recommend reviewing it so that you know what you're going to get. Then you can pick your model and your processing mode. So we've got precise, balanced, and fast as processing modes. So essentially with bigger batches of queries, it'll group them down into smaller subgroups. So precise is 50 at a time to give you the most precise groupings. Balanced does 75 in one go to give you a balance of speed and precision. And if you've got a huge batch, you might want to pick fast. It does groups of 150 queries at a time and process them in one go. With the models, we've got Gemini, Sonnet, GPT-4o, Perplexity, and Grok. Just hit process when you're ready and it'll get going. So the process takes a while depending on how many queries you've got. We've got 1,300 in this batch as an example. So it's going to process them batches at a time based on which model, which mode you selected. So we're going to whiz through this because there's no point you sitting here watching this in real time. And eventually you'll see outputs. So we've got 601 queries grouped, 75% have been assigned, 25% have been uncategorized. We've got different intent levels: commercial, informational, navigational, and transactional are the intent groupings. And you can see the assigned topic. So this is really useful because if you've got a massive data set of a huge number of queries, you can bring those assigned topics and those intents back into your data set to understand your topical queries at subtopic level. So let's say your website's about broadband, and let's say you're writing, you want to know what content is the most valuable to add to your website or the most valuable content to update for your website. You can determine which of the keywords is going to drive you the most revenue based on the system by bringing it back into your keyword set and then pivoting and looking at the assigned topics for each query bucket. So if there's a huge bucket with a huge amount of revenue, you know that pulling out content topics from that batch is going to be super important and super valuable for your website. Why I like this is because I know AI can do a lot of this stuff, but this is kind of a hybridization of you thinking about it and looking at it and understanding the query sets, but also not spending ages doing it yourself. It's keeping that understanding level with you so that you know what you should be targeting, you know where the money is going to come from, but also not having to manually sit there and do it yourself. So it's great if you've got a batch of like 10, 20, 30,000 queries that all need kind of grouping and looking at and assessing and weighing side by side so that you know where the value is. We've gotten to the end and you can see that we have a total of 1,300 keywords assessed, 65% assigned, 35% uncategorized. The great thing about this tool is it doesn't categorize queries if they're not relevant. It's not just going to force them into groups if they're not relevant to you and what you've defined. So you can download this as a CSV and bring it back into your data set, which then essentially means you can have a new way to look at your data set at a more of a parent level rather than specific sets of, like a specific investigation into each individual query. So I hope this is useful. Give it a try. As I said, you can group up to 5,000 queries. And let me know what you think in the comments. It'd be really, really cool to hear your thoughts. Cheers.